The 653rd edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with promo code MMA SGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Heidi ho, degenerados. Welcome to episode 653 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. I have no one lined up for a dedication, so we're going to do this on the fly. We're going to do it live, as it's was said before by a broadcaster. Crypto Messiah 2582, because you are active on our videos on YouTube, and you haven't trashed us. You haven't dragged us for a losing pick on videos where we gave away pretty much nothing but winners. This goes out to you. Thank you for coming to the show. I'm Jeff Chalks Fox. Even though, as I went through the stats yesterday, I'm not really that chalky this year. It's the dogs that are winning me my money, but I'm going by that nickname anyhow until I come up with actually, I'm Taco Fox in the Discord. If you get in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. We had some fun taco episodes recently, and Taco won us plus 215 money as well. So, but that is all in the past. Today's about the future. More precisely, it's about UFC 306, O'Malley versus Dvalishvili, Riyadh season, Noche UFC. Whatever else you want to add on, feel free. Yesterday we covered the 5 prelim cards. Yes, only 5 fights. I like this 10-fight card, but we get to watch movies during the fights, so that'll be a real good time waster. We did 5 fights yesterday. Today is all about the main card and the fancy dancy plays at the end. I think I said we. It's not a royal we. The man beside me. If you're on YouTube, you shall see there's someone beside me. He has a hat that looks like a Bass Pro Shop hat, but is not. It's a King Crab hat. It's Daniel Gumby Vreeland. Hello.
Not a King Crab, King Cake.
King Cake. I'm sorry. Yes,
King Cake.
King
Yeah.
Crab.
King Cake, King Crab. Very different. Very different.
It's
parts
true,
of the
but
world.
it's big. Both big in New Orleans, right?
I guess King Crab is.
Right.
I think a crab is
Seafood's
being
big,
more
right?
of like a mid-Atlantic thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Thing. You know, it's crawfish down in
right.
Louisiana.
Crawfish.
Yeah, we're crawfish people.
933 subscribers update on YouTube, so we're almost there.
Oh, and so
more.
If you're not one of those 933 of you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because once again, you don't need to even need to get notifications. You can just be a subscriber, and we appreciate your subscriberdom. So thanks for all of you who have done that and all of you who do in the future.
There's someone on the main card, pay-per-view card, that I'm like, who's Ronaldo Rodríguez? So yeah.
Last time we broke him down with his other name. Yeah.
What was his name then?
So he was Ronaldo. He was not Ronaldo Rodríguez when he fought on Contender Series. He went by a different first name. I'm trying to remember which one he went by. But then when I interviewed him for his UFC debut, his manager was like, "Hey, we're going with Ronaldo Rodríguez now instead of his other name." And I was like, "Oh, cool." Just
Luis?
like Luis Rodríguez. Yep,
okay.
Luis Rodríguez. Yep. And he was like, "We're going Ronaldo now," and I was like, "Cool." And so I switched up, my little copy that I was reading and getting ready for the interview. And he's since been going by Ronaldo Rodríguez. I don't know what the reason for the name brand change is, but it's here. Maybe it was the loss in Contender Series.
Yeah. Anyhow, it's interesting this is a pay-per-view card, and we have Ronaldo Rodríguez and Ode Osbourne open yet. So wonder why it's not selling out and it's not doing gangbusters when Dana White's trying to make this the biggest fight card of all time. But top 3 fights are solid. 4th fight, pretty interesting. And then,
I love Ronaldo Rodríguez.
Yeah, maybe I don't have a problem with him, but he
might be tipping my hand, but he's a fun ass prospect.
Good. I'm glad you're tipping your hand, because I think I'm leaning the same way as you are. So, but yeah, rest of the fight card pretty interesting, and at least for me, a lot of tough decisions here. At least when we get closer to the top of the card.
I knew exactly who I wanted in every one of these fights when it was announced.
Look at you. Well, I haven't switched, but yeah, none of them are slam dunks for me at the very least, but maybe they are for you. I know someone who I'm going to call your boyfriend, because you're going to pick him for sure here. I know one of your picks at the very least. So before we move on, college football, NFL, all that stuff's here. You people know that already. Most of you are Americans, and you know that. But do you know that the NFL and college football are in full swing? Yes, you know that part. But make sure you are subscribing to the Sports Gambling Podcast and the College Football Experience for free picks for every game against the spread. Make sure you're doing that if you have not already. All right, let's get down to this here card, UFC 306. We're going to call it. We're off to the pay-per-view portion, 10 p.m. start time. And we're opening up, as I mentioned, with a flyweight belt, Ronaldo Rodríguez, knee, Luis Rodríguez versus Ode Osbourne. 3 5-minute rounds at flyweight. You can't complain about a card starting with flyweight. So the Jamaican sensation, Ode Osbourne, is 12-7 with 1-0 contest. 5 knockouts, 4 submissions for him. He's been knocked out twice, submitted 4 times, 4-5 in the UFC. He's lost 2 straight and only won 1 of his last 4. Got submitted in his last fight. 1-0 on Contender Series. Used to fight up at bantamweight and up at featherweight. An inch of height, 8 inches of reach over Rodríguez. So that's some long ass arms. He's only an inch taller, but he's got 8 inches of reach. More active landing strikes from Rodríguez. He's been outstruck over his, I guess that would be 10 fights. 9 in the UFC, 1 in Contender Series. He's been outstruck by almost a strike a minute. He's at minus 0.98. He's at plus 120. Lazy boy Rodríguez. Don't call him Luis. 16-2, 7 knockouts, 5 submissions. Never been finished in a fight. 1-0 in the UFC. He's won 6 straight fights, 3 straight. Yeah, finish is not lost since August 2020. Used to fight at bantamweight. My Contender Series. Who did he lose to when he was Luis, Gumby?
He lost to Jerome Rivera, if I'm not mistaken.
Didn't age well.
It didn't. What was Jerome Rivera? 0-4 in the UFC?
Something like that, yeah.
But to be fair, Ronaldo Rodríguez, very young, and that was a very long time ago.
And it was a different guy.
And it was a different guy.
Then. Yeah. 7 years younger than Osbourne. So, yeah, there you go. Very young. Better striking stats. He's been outstruck in the UFC and Contender Series, mostly Contender Series, by 1.56 strikes per minute, minus 137. Give me Ronaldo hot he, guys. Ronaldo Rodríguez here. Bloom's kind of off the rose on Ode Osbourne. I liked him. Obviously, like his freakish size for a flyweight. And Gummy reminds us every episode how he has a wrestling background, but hasn't really played out that well in the past few fights. So I like Rodríguez. He is ascending for sure against a guy who seems to, like I said, be on the way down. So give me the much younger guy at a lightweight class pretty much any day.
And I'm going to go with Rodríguez too. While I do bring up Ode Osbourne's wrestling background all the time, it does feel like it's a wrestling and not a jiu-jitsu advantage he sometimes has.
Or not grappling, yeah.
Yeah, and I think if he chooses to grapple in here, he's getting rear naked choked. Ronaldo Rodríguez, I mean, like, he gave up takedowns to Denis Bondar, and what did he do with them? He made it an advantage for himself and wound up with the finish. So, Ronaldo Rodríguez is a really sharp grappler. He's getting faster with the hands too. Being as young as he is, being as small as he is, he really takes advantage of that. Ode has definitely lost a step or two. It's actually funny if you look at his last 4 fights. His only win is Charles Johnson, which is maybe the hardest
dog in every fight too.
Yeah, and which is maybe the hardest dude he fought in there. I personally think Ode is just probably going to be too slow. He's probably going to be too hittable, and if he does try to get that wrestling going, I don't think it works for him here either. So give me Ronaldo Rodríguez. I like his abilities on the mat.
Yeah, you got to like a guy that much younger at 125 pounds, where speed and athleticism and all that stuff is the name of the game, not power so much. So, all right. Do you like him via submission, or is that for later? Am I stealing something?
We might be talking about that later.
All right. I know my Gumby so well. Let's move on to a lightweight fight. Daniel Zellhuber from Mexico. Esteban Ribovics from Argentina. Yes. 3 5-minute rounds, 155 pounds. And I'm going to tell you about Ribovics first. El Gringo is 13-1, 7 knockouts, 5 submissions. Never been finished in a fight. 2-1 in the UFC. He lost his debut, won 2 straight, including his last one via knockout. 1-0 Contender Series, regional champion, better striking stats, more active landing strikes, and better grappling stats than Zellhuber. And he's outstruck his UFC and Contender Series opponents by 2.71 strikes per minute, plus 190. Golden Boy, Zellhuber, 15-1, 7 knockouts, 3 submissions, never been finished in a fight. 3-1 in the UFC. He as well lost his debut and then he's won 3 straight since then. Has not lost since that UFC debut, September 2022. 1-0 Contender Series, used to fight at welterweight, 3 inches height, 8 inches of reach, 3 years younger than Ribovics. That's basically him over every opponent at lightweight. He has outstruck his UFC and Contender Series opponents by 0.8 strikes per minute, minus 225. I was a little surprised that this one was so widely lined. Let's see what Gumby thinks.
Yeah, I don't really love the value on this one. I'll be straight up on this with Zellhuber, but I am going to pick Zellhuber mostly just because I like his volume and his ability to put it on somebody. I mean, his only loss was Trey Ogden, and it was straight up just because Trey Ogden, gets in your face and is a dog and wrestles. And I think he only had one takedown, but he turned it into a more of a grinding fight. And that's just not what Ribovics is going to do here. He's going to let his hands fly. He's going to look for those big punches. And Zellhuber hasn't been an easy guy to catch in that terms. He's a guy who, has you on the back foot a lot. He's tall and lanky, so he's hard to counter. And, I just think Zellhuber is better in that way. I mean, like we talked about it on yesterday's episode with Baja Mondays versus Manuel Torres. I kind of feel like this is almost the same fight. I kind of feel like Baja Mondays and Zellhuber are the taller, sharper strikers. And then you got Ribovics and Torres, who are like the big power punchers. And you sort of have to believe that they're going to land the big punch, or else I think they're going to lose. So I'll take the two lanky guys who, have put away ability themselves. I think it's worth noting. And I'll take Zellhuber here.
Yeah, I'm taking Zellhuber as well. I think he's slightly better everywhere, but yeah, the odds really aren't in our favor though for that. So obviously you can't ignore the size. I ignored the size in youth yesterday. Today I'm not. So I've turned over a new leaf. I'm back to the old chalks again, I guess. All right, before we move on, I think I should tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy Pick'em gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry. The NFL is back, baby, and there are a ton of Pick'em specials to get you started, plus great action for college football. Their lobby is jam-packed with profit boosts and no sweat entries. You can now use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Gummy, any place?
Well, so you're getting this on Thursday, and obviously that means Thursday night football. And, the thing is that the Dolphins might be without their two best running backs tonight. Both of them, one of them seems to be out. The other one seems to be questionable. So I think they're going to have to rely on Tua a little bit. So I'm going to go with higher on Tua's passing yards.
Okay, there you go. Take that for what it's worth. Gummy knows the stuff though. Sign up with our code MMASGPN to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMASGPN. And now back to your winning picks. All right, these are basically top three are the premier fights of the night on this year card. This one is a featherweight fight. We've broken it down before. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopes, US versus Brazil. I will tell you about the American first, Ortega, T-City. Baby, 16-3 with 1 no contest, 3 knockouts, 8 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 8-3 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He's 1-2 over his last 3, 2-3 over his last 5. Did win his last fight via submission though. He was scheduled to fight Lopes and pulled out very last minute. What card was that again? Do you remember? Off the top of your head?
It was the last pay-per-view. So UFC 3
was it?
5, right?
Oh, it was 3 or 5. Okay. He's failed a drug test before as well. If you care about those things, multi-region championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Get sticky with us. 2010 Pro MMA debut. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 2.47 strikes per minute. He's more active landing strikes than Mr. Lopes. Not surprisingly, he has better grappling stats than Lopes as well, plus 160. Lopes, 25-6, 10 knockouts, 12 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. 4-1 in the UFC. He's won 4 straight after dropping his debut. 3 fighters in a row. That's happened to that we've broken down. He's fight down at bantamweight, up at lightweight 01 contender series, multi-region championships on his
mantle.
Correct. Get the shirt, sportsgamblingpockets.com/store. Get sticky. 2012 Pro MMA debut. 3 inches height, 3 inches of reach, 3 years younger than Ortega. He's been outstruck in the UFC by 0.84 strikes per minute, minus 180. I took Lopes last time. I'm taking Lopes this time as well. Bigger, younger. I like him much better on the feet, and he can grapple a little bit as well. So give me the ferocious on a roll Diego Lopes.
And I'm going to take Brian Ortega. Mm-hmm. And I took him the first time. Obviously, the pullout's a little bit of a concern. But the odds have swung even further in the other direction, which means you're getting a little bit better of a number on them.
Do you remember what it was?
I want to say it was like plus 135 when we broke it down last time. Right. And then it went up a little bit. And now it's like pretty much where it was at closing or when he pulled out of the fight. And for me, for Brian Ortega, I think the difference maker for me is the grappling. You kind of trailed off at the end there when you were breaking down Diego Lopes. He can grapple a little bit. And then he just
and not like Ortega though.
Yeah, and that's it for me is that I think the difference maker is Ortega. And, I was one of the few people out there picking Brian Ortega in the rematch with Yair Rodriguez saying like, look, he's got an advantage in the grappling, whether he weirdly dislocated his shoulder the first time or not. This is a guy who nearly subbed Alexander Volkanovski, and then he took it to Yair Rodriguez on the mat. And even when he dislocated his shoulder, he got the takedown in that fight. He was the one on top. He was the one controlling Yair Rodriguez. And Diego Lopes is a guy who I think, sort of relies on his scrambles quite a bit in the grappling department. And Ortega is a guy who catches people in scrambles constantly. He caught Alexander Volkanovski, which, like, who catches Volkanovski in a submission? Nobody. Like that. He's, bulletproof when it comes to grappling. And he was damn near the champ there for a second. Ortega was. So I still really believe in his grappling abilities. Do I think it's possibly something we have to be concerned about in the feet with Lopes? Sure, but he hasn't really been flatlined in a way that concerns me yet, even though he's been fighting for a while. I'm going to trust his chin and think that his grappling holds up here. I'll take the dog play on Ortega.
Ortega fanboy continues. All right. Or maybe it's just the last time we broke down these fights is why I'm thinking that. But no, I think you picked Ortega. You picked him.
I picked him against Yair too. Yeah.
There you go. So you're indebted to him now. He won you some plus money there. So, all right. Nothing but titles the rest of the way through. Real titles, not interims or anything, or BMFs. These are real championships. Starting with the UFC Women's Flyweight Championship, champion Alexa Grasso from Mexico versus the challenger Valentina Shevchenko not from Mexico, other side of the world, Kyrgyzstan. 5-minute rounds if these ladies need it. I think they're going to need it. But anyhow, let's see. Shevchenko, the challenger, bullet, is 23-4-1, 8 knockouts, 7 submissions, knocked out once, submitted once, very durable. Fighter 12-3-1 in the UFC, used to be the champion. 9-1-1 over her last 11. A draw in her last fight against the champ. Grasso has not won since June of 2022. Used to fight up at bantamweight briefly. 2003 pro MMA debut. Multi-time world champion in Muay Thai. A judo champ, a taekwondo champ. Better striking stats and grappling stats than Grasso, and she's outstruck her UFC opponents by 1.17 strikes per minute, plus 125. A tight one. Top 2 fights are tight on the board, which is nice. Grasso, 16-3-1, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, been submitted once. 8-3-1 in the UFC, and is the current champion. Is not successfully defended. Does a draw count as I guess you technically defended it if you drew, right?
Yeah, I'd say she defended it once.
One defense under her belt. Has missed weight before at 115. It was doesn't matter now because she's not at 115 anymore. 125 she's at. 4-0 in Invicta. 2012 pro MMA debut. 5 years younger than Shevchenko. More active landing strikes than Shevchenko. She outstruck her UFC points by 0.72 strikes per minute, minus 135 on the champ.
I'm going with Grasso again. I think, for me, we're talking about Alexa Grasso being a fighter who we've regularly, since she made her debut, everybody was talking about, like, she's going to be a champion. She's going to be a champion. She's on her way up. And then we kind of trailed off of her because she never really found her groove at 115 pounds. She has found it here at 25 as she's kind of like grown into her body a little bit. Her striking gets sharper every single time we see her. Her grappling has obviously gone leaps and bounds from where it was when she was at strawweight. Like, I've been really impressed, and I think the trajectory is still upward for Grasso. And I actually don't feel that way about Valentina Shevchenko anymore. The trajectory is not in an upward fashion anymore. She appears to get slower every single time. She appears to lose a step in her defensive grappling. Going all the way back to the Talia Santos fight, right? Like, that's when she started to kind of like lose a touch on her grappling defense. And, then Grasso submitted her. And, we're in a position where the Valentina Shevchenko, who looked like the wildly dominant champion, I don't think it's the same fighter there anymore. And I don't mean that she's dropped off to the point where, like, people outside of the top 5 would beat her. But I just mean the one who's number 1 right now, I do think beats her. I think she's fallen off enough that Alexa Grasso has kind of caught her. The speed's going to catch up. The ability to fight late into a fight has kind of caught up with her, as we saw in the last fight. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Grasso here. I think cardio, speed, all of those things, and the youth is really going to be the biggest answer here.
Yeah, I know it's boring to say, but I agree with everything Gumby says there. Yeah, Shevchenko, every fight, even before she started, even before she ran into Grasso, the decline had started, whether it was very obvious or not, but it happens to all fighters, and it's happened to her, and she's still moaning about the fact that she thinks she won last fight and stuff like that, which I don't think is a good
If
mindset.
she did, she'd be getting this exact same fight.
Exactly.
And she just have the belt on her shoulder.
Yeah. But yeah, that's probably not a good mindset heading into it as well. But yeah, you got to go with the fighter who seems to be ascending and is much younger here and is the champ heading in. So, and she's beaten her already. So give us Grasso, both of us. Good number though, because it's going to be a close fight. Unfortunately, inside the distance, those numbers really aren't that great, but because that's what's going to happen. The books are not dumb. All right, let's go to our main event, and then we'll get you all our fancy plays. Main event is for the UFC Men's Bantamweight Championship. Sean O'Malley, USA of America. Merab Dvalishvili from Georgia, because the South's got something to say, and Georgia's taken over. All these fighters from Georgia. Let's tell you about challenger. Dvalishvili, the machine, is 17-4, 3 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been submitted once, 10-2 in the UFC. He's won 2 straight fights after dropping his first 2 in the UFC. Lucky he didn't get cut, right? Has not lost since back then. It was April 2018. Was a regional champion. He's fought at featherweight. 2014 Pro MMA debut. He's outstruck his UFC opponents by 2.13 strikes per minute. He's a silver medalist in Sambo on the world level. Better grappling stats than O'Malley, plus 118. Suga, with no R, is 18-1 with 1 no contest. 12 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once. 8-1 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He is the champ and has successfully defended his title once. He's won 3 straight, and he's got 6-0 and with 1 no contest over his last 7. He's not lost a fight since August 2020. I think he says he didn't lose that one either, right? 1 no contender. Yeah. Somehow he got knocked out, but he didn't lose. 1 no contender series. Regional champion. Used to fight down at flyweight, which is crazy. 1-0 in pro boxing. Is also a pro grappler. 5 inches height, 4 inches reach. 3 years younger than Dvalishvili. Better striking stats, more active landing strikes, and he's outstruck his UFC and contender series points by 4.11 strikes per minute, which is impressive when you can hit like him, as hard as him. Minus 127. Tough one, but I'm going with the striker. I'll go with O'Malley. He's surprises. I think we take, his clown persona outside the cage. We let it maybe, or some people let it affect their thoughts on him in the cage, but he's basically cleared every hurdle put in front of him. I think he can piece up to Dvalishvili on the feet. And he's shown he is a pretty solid grappler in his own right. And has, fought the 5-round fights and all that stuff. Obviously, you can't be super sure of this because Dvalishvili can very easily take him down and grind out a win as well. But I think, as per usual, I'm going to take the striker here, and striker with a big reach advantage is going to be useful as well. So give me the champ.
Yeah, first I'm just going to clear up something. Sean O'Malley never fought at flyweight.
Yeah, we talked about this before.
I talked to him one time about it, and he said that he was a late replacement for a fight where the guy was supposed to fight at flyweight, and the promoter just never changed it on the site, but they fought at bantamweight. So, that's a weird tidbit, but I felt like I wanted to put that in there.
I forgot. You're right.
Plus, anytime I can name drop that me and Sean O'Malley had a conversation about it one time. It's always fun.
Bros, right?
We used to do a few interviews. I'm going to take... I actually did one with Merab one time too.
Really?
Yeah, way back when.
Cool.
I'm going to take Sean O'Malley too.
Good.
I mean, obviously, I liked it better when he was an underdog. But the bottom line for me here is just Merab takes a shot in almost every single fight he's in.
Yeah.
It's
brought a lot.
I brought this up on more than one podcast this week, but like Marlon Moraes hit him so hard and he was wobbly. And that was during Marlon Moraes' 722 fight losing streak. He's
not exaggerating, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that's a real number, by the way. And Merab Dvalishvili, some refs would have stopped that. And that would be the lone win in Marlon Moraes' last 722 fights. And so for me, I just know that Sean O'Malley is going to land that one, or I feel like he's really going to land that one. I don't like Merab knowing that he's got to be on the feet as much as he does. Because the other thing about Merab, and I know we laud his wrestling and we talk about how good of a wrestler he is and how many takedowns he's gotten, this and that. He's got that many takedowns because people get back up. His top control is not something to write home about. And really, that's where I differentiate him in Aljamain Sterling, right? Because Sean O'Malley kept his distance and flatlined Aljamain Sterling, Merab's best friend. What's the difference? Merab's got better cardio. Merab's got a better ability to take you down. But Aljamain's got better submission game. Aljamain's got better top control. Aljamain's got better striking. Like, arguably, Sean O'Malley is getting an easier fight here than he had with Aljamain Sterling, in my opinion. A guy who's more hittable, more susceptible to being countered, more susceptible to having to get back up on the feet. The only difference is just like he gets on his bike. And like, has that ever worked against Sean O'Malley? Granted, Merab might be the best at it, but it's never worked against Sean O'Malley. So I'm going to take Sugar here. I think he's going to find that chin.
Is he going to knock him out though? Or am I stealing things again?
You're not stealing it, but I think he is. That's not going to be one of my fun props or anything like that. But I do think Sean O'Malley by KO is probably the way this one goes. I just don't think Merab eats those shots like he ate Marlon Moraes or Henry Cejudo off the couch. Like, I don't think he eats those shots in the same way.
Henry Cejudo off the couch. All right. Recap. O'Malley, team ride. Grasso, team ride. He has Ortega. I have Lopes. Zellhuber, team ride. Rodríguez, team ride. Don't you go anywhere yet. We've got more picks for you after I tell you about Bet US. We are brought to you by Bet US. Bet with the best in the business, Bet US. Bet US has been around for more than 40 years. Bet anywhere. Bet US is available in tons of locations, including internationally. Bet US has a massive props menu, same game parlays, and some of the best boosts in the business, plus an all-new live betting experience. Easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. Check out all their MMA and UFC picks on there. Use our link to sign up and get a 125% deposit bonus. That's even better than 100% on your first 3 deposits. Go to sportsgamblingpockets.com/betus. That's sportsgamblingpockets.com/betus. So you know that we sent you there. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. Have you ever wanted to create your own sports betting model for football? Do you even know what a sports betting model is? SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to create custom predictive betting models in seconds that get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model, copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard, or press build a model for me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpockets.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpockets.com/RITHMM. Locks, dogs, props, parlays in your ears and eyes. Now, Gumby kicks things off this week with his lock.
Lock of the week. I'm gonna go. Where do I want to go on this one?
Oh, you don't know. I have all mine planned out.
I had one, and then I stopped myself for a sec. No, I'm gonna stick with it. Joshua Van. Low 200s here for Joshua Van. Even on the short notice piece, I think he's infinitely better than Edgar Shreves.
I am taking a flyweight as well. Rodríguez, we just talked about the lazy boy, -137. It's a real good line going up against Osbourne.
Right on. For my underdog, you're not going to dig this one. I like Ignacio Bahamondes. I love the reach, love the footwork, love what he did to a power puncher last time out. Give me Bahamondes.
Oh, I like him as a fighter, so I don't mind. I guess who my dog is, Gumby. I have one dog.
I'm going to guess it's Norma Dumont, right?
Dumont. Excuse me. My one dog is a +100 dog. This turned out you took more dogs than me, but this isn't a super.
I only took 2.
Yeah.
I only took Bahamondes and the aforementioned Brian Ortega. I do think it's a little bit of a chalkier card too.
A lot of big lines, but also a lot of close lines. So hopefully we can still make some dough on it. Yeah, Dumont is my dog. If you want to hear why, yesterday's episode.
My prop, you actually alluded to it not being the case, but I'm gonna put it in there as the case. I'm gonna take Alexa Grasso on the points. I like Alexa Grasso winning by a decision.
Yeah.
While she did get the finish in her first fight, you will notice, especially with women's rematches in title fights, the second fight almost always goes longer than the first one.
That's what happened.
Yeah, they get familiarity. They know the little tips and tricks and things like that. And right now you can get Grasso by decision +175. So it takes that negative line there, flips it on its head, and you get some pretty good value there.
That is good value. All right. +175, you said?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I have a decision prop as well. Daniel Zellhuber via decision +135. Both guys never been finished, even though they are ferocious strikers. I think it's a closer matchup than the line suggests, the money line. And I see it going the distance, maybe winning fight of the night even. So Zellhuber via decision. So Van, Rodríguez are the locks. Bahamondes and Dumont are our dogs. Grasso decision, Zellhuber decision are our props. And now, for the time, it's time for the Hunger Man John Superfan Parlay, a 2-fight parlay. We're due.
Yeah. So if you've been bored by the fact that we just hit you with 2 decisions, I got good news for you. I got some finishes here in this one. I'm going to go a pair of flyweight finishers. Both of our locks, we're going to double down on them. We're going to start with Joshua Van by knockout. I think Edgar Shreves is going to get really exhausted shooting those takedowns, and it's only a matter of time before the swarm of Joshua Van takes over. I couldn't believe it when I looked it up. +360 on Joshua Van to win by knockout. Thought that was kind of surprising. And you alluded to it a little bit at the beginning of the show today. Ronaldo Rodríguez, guy with good submission skills. Osbourne coming off of being rear naked choked twice in a row. Ronaldo Rodríguez by submission, 375. So for a guy who's coming off of a rear naked choke up against a guy who's been rear naked choked twice, you're still going to get plus 375. So you put those two together, you're going to get plus 2085. And that does it for me.
That's fantastic. All right, Rodríguez submission van knockout plus 2085. That would be a big hit. Be a nice Saturday night if we can hit that. All right, we're gonna have fun on Saturday regardless. We have fun every night in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Get in there and say hi if you haven't already. YouTube, say hi to us on YouTube as well. Make sure you subscribe. Before you do that, we're at MMA Gambling Podcast, of course. That was YouTube. Twitter, SGPN MMA. Gumby runs that. He's Gumby Vreeland. I'm Jeff Fox Writer there and on Instagram. Catch my all my other writings and my free pick'em contests for the UFC at my Substack, moneymma.substack.com. And a paid subscription will get access to all the gambling stats I use to create these episodes and a bunch of other great articles, in my opinion. So check that out, moneymma.substack.com. Gumby's got another podcast called Top Turtle. And who is on it this week?
Mark Lomacco, who is headlining LFA tomorrow night. And we're talking to Elijah Smith, who will be on Contender Series, which we're talking about tomorrow. So big tomorrow episode.
Yep. Tomorrow is all about Contender Series. So, all right. So you got that. And then, of course, we're at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Take it away, Gumby.
All right. I'm David Gumby Vreeland. He's Jeff Sugar Fox. And we will see you tomorrow.